Hey guys, welcome to the Foundry podcast. This is episode 10, and today I'm joined by one of our members here at the gym, Mr. Ross Vezin. Ross is a firefighter. He's actually one of the administrators here in Beaufort Fire Department, and I want to introduce. So, in this opportunity, take time to talk about who you are, what you do,
Okay.
everything like that.
Yep. My name is Ross Vezin. I've been in Beaufort for 16 years. Currently the deputy chief of administration. So it's a big word for dealing with the budget. I manage the public education events, manage the training division and the fire marshal division. Look at a lot of Excel spreadsheets, data, response times, certain type of incidents, things of that nature to support our firefighters.
Awesome. And how long have you been involved with the Beaufort Fire Department?
16 years.
16 years.
Moved from Jupiter, Florida. It's in South Florida, about an hour and a half north of Miami.
Yeah.
Here when I was 18, 19 years old. So
Awesome, man. So you were a firefighter before you came to Beaufort?
I went to the fire academy down in Florida and EMT school, and ended up in Beaufort.
So what drew you into the life of a firefighter?
Oh, very good question, Abe, and it's a question that I enjoy talking about.
Awesome.
Senior year of high school, my best friend, all through elementary school, middle school, high school, his dad was a captain in Miramar, Florida, which is just north of Miami, probably about 15 miles north of Miami. He was killed in the line of duty. He was hit by a semi-truck on the side of 95 working a scene. And he was a guy that I always looked up to. He was an incredible dad, an incredible coach, just an incredible role model. And he was a second father to me. Yeah. So from that day, I always knew what I wanted to do. He had 3 boys that he never got to see graduate high school, and these boys are incredible. One's a dentist, one's a doctor, and I'm not sure what the other one is, but just very successful family, somebody that you saw in the community and you wanted to get to know better. And to see that happened to him, I just wanted to follow in his footsteps. So
I mean, I think that from what I understand, that's most of what the nature or character of firefighters are. People seem to look up to them and like same stories all the time.
Yeah.
So in your experience here in Beaufort, what do you feel like the job is like in Beaufort compared to other parts of the country?
I think it's very similar. You hear the word fire department and you think those guys respond to fires, but that's not all that we do. So we're all dual certified as EMTs, either advanced EMTs or paramedics. So we respond on all medical calls as well. And that's 85% of our job, really.
Yeah.
If we're out in the gym right now and somebody is in jiu-jitsu and gets hurts their leg, you call 911, you're going to get a fire truck. And it's going to be one of us that show up because we're dual certified. So it's very similar. And that number of 85% medical is pretty standard across the country.
In Beaufort here, we also have, pretty low-lying area, lots of rain and stuff like that. Do you see, a lot of fire action? I know a lot of people get into it wanting to respond to fires.
Right. I mean, we never want to see somebody's house and belongings,
for sure.
Get destroyed. Thankfully we have a very well-involved public education program. I mean, any day of the week, you'll see a fire truck at one of our local schools talking to the kids, talking to people at nursing homes, talking to members of the community about fire safety. It's something we're very passionate about.
Sure.
So if we can prevent one fire, we would rather prevent a fire, obviously, than to respond to a fire, because then you get the potential for our guys to get hurt, 100%. Civilians to get hurt. So I would say we respond to probably, just in the city of Beaufort and the town of Port Royal, probably close to 40 to 50 structure fires, confirmed structure fires a year. And that's just houses, not counting vehicle fires or brush fires or anything like that. So
it still seems like a lot.
It does. It does. Yeah. And a lot of times you don't know about them or see them because they happen in the middle of the night. A large percentage of our fires happen in the middle of the night. So.
And I know you guys also, because of incidents that's happened here before, you also respond to some environmental things as well, right?
We do. Very good point. We're an all-hazard department, so hazmat incidents, if you call 911 for something that you're not comfortable with, you're going to get one of our fire trucks to show up.
Gotcha.
And our guys are trained to mitigate any issue that will come about.
So as far as, what we do here at the Foundry, we're a fitness center. We teach classes and everything. But, I think that firefighters in general, across the board, I know there's, annual, firefighter games and competitions and, athletic events. So I'm really glad to have your department here as part of our team. But also, what do you feel that the level of fitness is required to be a firefighter? What level would you say?
Pretty good level. At any moment you're inside of a fire and a medical emergency happens, a collapse happens, something could be on top of me or be on top of you, and you're going to have some strength in order to get that person out. 9 times out of 10, it's zero visibility. You put your hand in front of your face like that. That's what it's like to be inside of a fire. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
You could sit at the front door getting ready to go inside the fire, and you can just see the smoke banking down, and it'll be light up top, and then you'll see firefighters literally on the ground because it's so hot, and that's where you can get the most visibility. But you'll see that layer, where it gets darker and darker and darker. So the lower you get, that's where you have the most visibility. But as far as strength goes, it's everything. It helps prevent injuries. I love the HIIT class that we do here just because it's outside of my normal routine of what I do for my physical fitness. I knew I needed to include some weights, so that's what I get Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
And I love that. I got somebody telling me what to do and yelling at me when I'm not doing it fast enough.
I'm sure the people underneath you are probably like, he deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
As far as that goes, with the HIIT style, it definitely is good for bringing up the heart rate and everything. And I imagine being in those situations really gets your heart thumping pretty hard, huh?
It does. It's not natural to pull up to see a house on fire. It's not. But we always preach, stay calm. And there's a saying that goes around the fire service. If I'm a trash guy and I go around a corner, I don't raise my voice or get excited when I see a trash can full of trash, and that's the same thing we have to do when we see a fire. You should expect to pull around a corner and see a fire and not be excited about it, but it's only natural.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen every day. So we really teach that and train on that, to stay calm, because once you get your heart rate up, everybody around you's heart rate's going to go up, but they're going to get excited,
Sure.
So staying calm is key.
I gotta imagine though that even as much as you want to stay calm, your natural human reactions kick in when you feel that slam of heat against you.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
And I also think we do a lot of martial arts. We do all kinds of stuff here, and so there's that moment where I definitely understand, when you're so used to something, when you train it enough, I guess you could say, it gets to the point where it's maybe not as exciting, but just
absolutely
you can stay calm, you can stay focused, and it's just like another day in the office.
And that's what we strive for.
Sure.
That's what we want.
So what kind of training do you guys do to prepare for that kind of exposure?
Live fire training for one. So we work with the air station, we work with Paris Island, we work with other fire departments and do live fire training. So we actually put our firefighters in scenarios where they're inside of a fire and they have to put it out. So we try to get those realistic scenarios as much as possible. Different classes, a lot of times people think you finish your fire academy and that's it. That's not the case. First couple of years as a firefighter, you're going to classes all the time. You're probably taking 10 to 20 additional classes. So it's taxing. It's a lot on our firefighters. It's a lot on their families. So just getting them as much training as possible is what will make people more comfortable with it.
Do you think that, after the initial training, there's probably going to be some, continual training, correct? Do you guys do that, on a weekly, monthly, every 6 months? How do you guys
Absolutely. Train? So every shift is designated for at least 2 hours of training a day, and that's minimum. So our guys work a 48-96 shift schedule. So 2 days on, 4 days off. So those 2 days, they're going to at least get 4 hours of training, whether that could be dress out drills, pulling hose, setting up extrication tools, or it could be something as simple as YouTube, you know. There's so many different scenarios out there and so many different training avenues that we have now to help prepare our personnel. So,
and I'm guessing, like, obviously being exposed to that adds to the training, obviously, too. So the more that they are on the job, the more, you get calm. And
yes.
Is there I know it's not easy to say this, but once you start to understand how fires work, are they the same, or is everyone different?
Constantly changing.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing about that is no house is the same.
Yeah.
You know, for houses, they don't have to be inspected. You know, if you own a business, you have to be inspected annually, right? At your house, you could have anything you want inside your house and you don't have to tell anybody about it. That's scary for firefighters. You know, if you wanted to keep your 5-gallon can of gasoline for your lawnmower in your closet in your bedroom, that's perfectly acceptable for you to do that. You know, no one can tell you that you can't do that.
Yeah.
But if your house catches on fire, we're going to find out about it real quick.
Yeah.
So every scenario is different. I mean, we see the different homes right here in Beaufort. You know, you'll have everything from a mobile home to a 5,000 square foot house lifted 3-story on Bay Street, you know. So we just have to be ready for anything, really.
And I know it's not like a very high, we don't have a lot of high buildings here because of hurricanes, because of the fact that it is low country and whatnot, but there are a couple buildings in the city that I know are pretty high up there. So I don't think, thankfully, you guys have had to respond to too many that high.
No.
Right?
So the city does have an ordinance of 5 stories. So our hospital, the Regents Bank, are both of our biggest buildings. And you may not ever have noticed it, but you will now that I tell you this. There's a pipe in the stairwell, and it's called a standpipe. And there's a way that the fire truck hooks into the pipe from outside the building, and then our firefighters just bring the hose upstairs to whatever floor the fire's on, and they hook into that pipe. So you actually don't have to bring it all the way up the stairs. You just hook into it on whichever floor you're on. It makes it a whole lot easier. You'll notice the hose up there, too. It's already there.
Definitely will now.
Yeah.
For sure. That's awesome. And that's a requirement everywhere, or just...
I believe so. I believe so. I'm not a fire marshal guy, though, so I'd have to ask him. So I'm not the ones coming to your businesses. Don't give me a hard time.
Going back to the fitness aspect of it, when you have guys on a work crew and whatnot, we definitely have had, I'm very glad to see the city of Beaufort prioritizing fitness because of the reasons that you stated. You want to have a good fit working crew that can do what they need to do. And again, I'm very excited to see that, whether it's internal mandates that you guys make or whether it's just the ambition of the firefighters, that we definitely see a good number of firefighters here in the gym working hard. Yeah. So is that something, I mean, obviously you guys promote it, but is that something that you require the guys to do? Or?
We do. So it's something we started a couple years ago, but we mandated in our daily schedule that you'll work out for an hour. So you've seen them here in the morning. You guys online have seen the fire trucks parked in the parking lot. You know, they're here for at least an hour, and we give them that time to fit in their daily schedule whenever it's convenient. If it's convenient at 2:00 in the afternoon, we want them here at 2:00 in the afternoon working out for an hour. It's not only important to them, but it's important to the people in the community. You know, to have fit firefighters coming to them, and it also helps get their mind right. You know, we go on some terrible calls. Sure. And, the mental aspect has shown by staying active, being healthy, doing what you can for your body, has shown to help recover better from those incidents. So, you never know what you're going to respond to. And by staying fit, being in the gym, being active, it all helps with that mental aspect.
And also being... I like the fact that they come together in crews too, because then you get that the gym talk,
Oh yes.
which can
Who's
sometimes
getting
be-
more swole for the summertime? And
Exactly.
is it cutting season or bulking season?
Exactly. And I'm sure there's some trash talk that goes back and
Oh,
forth
yeah.
too. But
Yeah.
I think it's great. Like if you're gonna be in a fire with somebody, you want it to be
Yes.
people that you're pretty close to,
Yep.
that you can trust and that how strong they are. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, how many firefighters does Beaufort have?
We have 60 firefighters.
60.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for the city of Beaufort and the town of Port Royal.
Yeah, which is not as big of an area as people might think.
No,
Yeah.
so we have 4 fire stations, but between those 4 fire stations, we respond to 5,000 calls a year. So definitely busy. There's days where we run 40 calls in a day, and then there'll be days we run 5. That's what I'm saying. You just never know, what the day is going to bring in our line of work. So.
As far as your fitness, what do you do for fitness for the most part, besides doing HIIT classes?
So I do the HIIT class. I'm a runner. I love the endurance stuff. So I swim before, I work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday with my schedule. So I swim before work. I try to do it 3 to 4 days a week. Try to get around 8,000 yards of swimming a week. And then if I'm training for something, I do over 10,000. But I love the Ironman events, the different triathlon events, the ultra-marathons. I love the mental aspect of it. There's nothing better to me, and this may be weird, but there's nothing better to me than your body telling you, no, I'm not doing this anymore, and you do it anyway.
Yeah.
And you overcome that fear, you overcome that pain, and you see what your body's made of. We don't realize as humans how powerful our mind is.
For sure.
And we don't actually ever put it to the test until you're put in a very uncomfortable situation.
What's the longest run you've been on?
Longest run was 68 miles. So it was like a 2.5 mile loop of a back 9 of a golf course.
Wow.
So it was an ultra marathon, 12 hours. So I was able to get 68 miles. Did Ironman Chattanooga, which is the longest Ironman in the circuit. So normally an Ironman event is a 112-mile bike ride. They add an extra 4 miles to this one. So just to stuff you with the 116-mile bike ride before a marathon. Yeah. So
you done that too?
I've done Ironman Chattanooga, yeah. How
do you do in competition?
I joke with myself that I don't know if I can do another one because that was my best time ever. Sub 11 hours. I'm sorry, sub 11 hours. A buddy of mine, these are all day events,
For sure, yeah.
Start early in the morning. A buddy of mine, he jokes, he was like, I didn't know that people actually finished when it was still daylight out, So that was my best event. It just everything came together that day, and it was beautiful out. Because that event, it's at the end of September, so it has the possibility of being really hot. But it was 65 degrees, and I just felt good. The nutrition was good. I'm weird. I eat chocolate peanut butter pretzels for my run, and that's what keeps me moving. So,
well, you get salt, you get carbs.
Yeah. So if you see me at Publix, more than likely I'm buying their chocolate peanut butter pretzels.
A little shout out to Publix.
Yeah,
you can sponsor Ross. So, what was the last event you did?
I did a 6-hour ultra marathon. It was called Farm Days. Give a shout out to Tim Waz over at Grounded Running. He was the timing guy for that, and it was an ultra marathon down in just west of Savannah. So I was lucky enough to get first place in that, and felt good, So it's these different events. You have a 6-hour, 12-hour, 24-hour. And each one is different because obviously with a 6-hour, you can push it a little bit harder than you can with a 12-hour because
the time, exactly.
Yeah. So, it takes a little bit getting used to, and it's definitely uncomfortable. But like I said, I love the feeling of your body telling you, nope, I'm not taking another step, and you do it anyway, So
when you're running for that long, does it... Obviously, I've never done that, so that's why I'm asking. Does it hit a point where it just is like you're not even thinking about the running. It's just your body's moving on its own, and you're thinking about everything else, or is
So
and then it comes back and it hits you that you have to think about every step. Probably.
Yeah.
Is that...
Well, I think it's, you hit this spot where you're like, okay, I can't run, whether it's 2-3 hours nonstop. I can't do that anymore. I need to now run 9 minutes and run 1. This is how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So then, then another hour goes by, and now I need to bring it down to run 7, walk 3. But as soon as you start going down, you're like, okay, I'm just going to walk the whole thing. And from then you're done. You're just going to walk the rest of it, So I just have to get it through my mind. Like, I have to have a schedule, so I'm constantly watching my watch, watching my heart rate. And that's what keeps me going throughout the time. Because, if you get in your mind that you're going to walk, you're going to walk that.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I want to do the best I can do and see what my body's made of, really.
Do you listen to tunes while you run?
I do.
Yeah. You probably listen to about 8 albums while you run.
I listen to just a little bit about everything. On a 6-hour run, on a hour swim in the pool, looking at the bottom of a pool, you feel like you can solve the world's problems by doing that.
Yeah.
It's just you talking to yourself.
It's very isolated.
It is, yeah.
But that's good because like therapeutic to some aspects, especially like
it is
when you're going through something like you said, of the things that you have to face as a firefighter or other stressful jobs like that. You don't want to internalize everything forever, but at the same time, just having that moment where you can just face it, by yourself and sweat it out.
You're right. It gets you in almost like a whole different world while you're doing it. It's you versus you, which that's what I love about it. If you were out there, Abe, it's not me going against you. I'm cheering you on just as much as you're cheering me on. So it's you versus you and seeing what your body's capable of, and the body is capable of a lot.
For sure.
We just have to want to do it, and that's the hard part.
So what got you into those long runs?
I've always been an endurance athlete. That's always my thing. If you go out and ask me to run a 40-yard dash right now, it's going to be like 6 seconds. But if you ask me to go out and run a mile, I'll do it in 6 minutes. It's something that I've always been into. I don't know if this is a curse or a good thing, but when I get hooked on something, I'm on it. I'm going to do it 110%. And this is kind of something that I'm into. I enjoy it. Swam this morning. I'll run this afternoon. Like, that's just, I have a daily schedule, a daily routine, and you know what it's like getting out of your daily routine. Like,
sure.
it screws you up. So I like that structure. I like that, that schedule that I have.
Did it start with like high school sports? Did you do cross country or?
I didn't do cross country. I played football and basketball, but I'm tall, which helps, So it's just, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I did an Ironman event and I did pretty well at it, and I was like, okay, this is. But I think it's you mentioned it, Abe. I think it's an escape.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me my free time. It gives me my moment to, do what I need to do to clear my head and enjoy the time to myself.
Mm-hmm. And have those conversations
that
you can't have when there's other distractions.
Right. Yeah,
I think that there's a lot of, like you're saying, that the fight against yourself while you're running. I think that's a lot of different sports that we have here too. Like even in like gymnastics, for instance, where it's not endurance based, there is endurance in it, obviously, but those girls are all performing against themselves to do their very best at that one routine. And obviously, there's other people in the competition that they're trying to outscore, but it all comes down to, can they control their body to the level they need to. And the same thing with our aerial artists, and I'm sure it's. There's always creativity in those kind of things too, which that kind of separates you from your opponent or your competitors that you're going against. But it's still, can you do the moves that you've been training for?
Right.
Can you do that stuff under that pressure? And so, I mean, it's all endurance to that degree, I think, is just being able to overcome. And even like in grappling or martial arts, I tell the guys all the time, typically what wins fights is conditioning, but not just like physical conditioning, it's a mental conditioning. Are you able to weather that moment of problem? You're underneath somebody, you're getting punched in the head. Can you fight through that, or are you going to give up? And if you give up, then
round's over. It's
you
done.
lost to yourself.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And that's the main thing. Just never give up. You know, my grandfather, he the motto of it at his funeral was never give up. And the hospice nurse at the time said, we've never had anybody on hospice this long. You know, for those that have been through hospice, you know, normally it's less than a month. You know, they're pretty good at judging. And thank you to hospice for what you do. But he was on hospice for several years. You know, he just never gave up. So that was the kind of the motto of his funeral, which, you know, even on my triathlon suit, that's what I have on the back. Awesome. So when that person behind me wants to give up, they'll read that.
And they're all behind you, right?
Yep. It just worked that way.
You're just motivating the whole team. They're like, what's that say over there? That's crazy.
And that's kind of a motto for myself,
I think
too.
It's a good one, man. And it's something like we teach the kids a lot, too. Yeah. And I think that, you know, with all the, you know, I know that one of the aspects of your job is the educational side of it. So, I mean, that's a great message to kids, too, in this situation. We tell our kids in martial arts class all the time, never give up.
Yeah.
Even if it's tough. And, you know, there's the other side of it, too. And this applies to running. It applies to martial arts. It applies to any skill-based thing, is that, you know, you're probably not going to be excellent the first time you do something. You probably won't be excellent the second time, the third, the fourth. It takes practice. It takes time, just like we were talking about. You got to work fires to get good at working fires. You got to run to get good at running. You got to do martial arts to get good at doing martial arts. But if you don't give up, then you can just like get past the point where you're learning the building blocks, the fundamentals, and you can really start to get a master at
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it sounds like you're at a point where you're enjoying it to the point of like, you know, what's the next challenge for you?
I don't know. You know what? I love adventures. I've hiked rim to rim of the Grand Canyon 5 different times. Like I love that stuff. In 2 weeks, I'm going to Havasu Falls. It's a 10-mile hike with a camp. Like I just look forward to that stuff. So and again, it's an outlet. You know, you're going out there. I love being in nature. I love doing wild things. So Havasu Falls really is my next one. It's a hike in Arizona. I applied for Mount Whitney permit, which is out in California. It's the highest peak in the lower 48. So I'm hoping to get that. I'll find out real soon. So if I get that, I'll be hiking Mount Whitney, which is a little over 14,000 feet. So I just love the adventure aspect, trying new things.
Would you like to compete on a broader scale, bigger scale?
I would, but to be honest, that stuff, the guys that do that, that's their job. Yeah. You know, so if somebody wants to pay me to do that, I will do my very best to support your agency or your work. But that's what those guys do. They live, breathe, and, you know, sleep that. You know, if you're a professional triathlete, that's all you do. You can't have a job. Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, I think my last half Ironman time was like 4:45, which is acceptable. But, you know, for a professional, they're doing it in 3:30. You know,
it's a big difference.
But their bike probably costs $15,000 more than mine. You know, which I'm okay with. You know, like I go out there again. It's me versus me. You know, and I just want to do the best that I can do. So, would I be into something like that? I'm happy with where I'm at. You know, I love my job, and I would never want to give that up. So, I truly have the best job in the world and the best crews. So,
you ever want to run in other parts of the world?
I've done the Marine Corps Marathon.
Okay.
So, that was kind of a check in the box. You know, that's one of the largest marathons in the country. So, I've done Hilton Head. So, I'd definitely be open to it.
Do you have any inspiration as far as like athletes out there that you kind of watch? And
Not really, actually. I kind of do my own thing with it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. You know, if I'm training for an Ironman, I have a set schedule. But as far as running goes, if I'm not training, I do 20 miles a week because I know it's tough on my body. But yeah, I mean, and then the HIIT class, and you know, my swimming schedule, I try to do 7,500 to 8,000 yards. So.
Well, I saw that, you know, you were mentioning about your schedule. I know that your schedule is different than it probably used to be as just a firefighter.
Yep.
Now you have to work your 9 to 5 schedule.
Yeah.
Boss man. So, but I think that that's one of the things that, you know, there's definitely a lot of requirement to be a firefighter. We've already discussed that. You need to be in shape. You need to be willing to, you know, get in shape. It does have a toll. There's a lot of risk involved with it, obviously, but it does also free up, you know, a good amount of time throughout the week, which isn't like, not a sales point, but I find that it's, you know, you could have firefighters that compete at high level. Like there's a couple firefighters in the UFC who are still firefighters.
Yep.
Stipe Miocic
Absolutely.
was the UFC champion for years as an active duty firefighter. Chris Liddell, active duty firefighter, when he was competing in the UFC. And I just think that, you know, in those instances, I really love seeing that, first of all, because obviously I have a partiality to the MMA side of things here. But I like seeing where the guys who are really at the top physically are giving back to the community like that, not just being like, I'm just going to do this for me and myself, you know.
Yeah.
And they're willing to risk it for other people, you know. And so, you know, I think that just speaks to the character, like we started talking about with your friend's father. And, you know, it speaks to the character of what makes a firefighter who they are, is their willingness to not just, you know, do it for the schedule, do it for the free time, but be willing to lay it on the line for that.
Yep, absolutely.
And, you know, I know a lot of people have a lot of stories of firefighters that did things. Obviously, in my last episode, I was talking to one of my mentors, Will McCullough, and I started at doing martial arts right after 9/11. And there's a couple things that everyone remembers about 9/11, and one of which is firefighters, you know. And I mean, just as much as, and I told him the reason I kind of started up with martial arts is because I was ready to sign up for the military right after that happened. You know, I was getting out of high school. I was still in high school when it happened, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to join up. I want to learn how to fight. So I'm going to go to school, martial arts school, and start learning. And just as many people probably signed up to be a firefighter after that too, after they saw what those guys did. So I just think that that's awesome. And I would encourage anybody who's, you know, interested in that. You guys definitely have need for firefighters.
Definitely. Right? Yeah.
It's one of those
and it is. It's a great job. You talk about the schedule. I mean, I don't want to sell the schedule, but it can be tough on families without a doubt. You know, you're gone for 2 days at a time. Now, granted, we you know, we have an acronym we use, kind of our mission at the fire department called FD Pride. And that F stands for family first. And we want our families coming up, you know. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you want to have your family and kids up and you guys have some time, bring them on up. You know, we want our firefighters to have their families there. We want it to be a family-oriented place.
It makes sense, too. I mean, and, you know, he's got to be ready to go when the time
Right,
comes.
yeah. I mean, and, you know, the family members have to realize you could be sitting at the dinner table waiting for your husband or wife out on a fire for 3 hours.
Time to go home with that.
Right, and, you know, they're not going to have their phone on them or anything to tell them, you know. Exactly. So that's what we want our families involved. We want them a part of our department. So,
as far as the community outreach and education, I know you guys go to different schools and things like that. Is there any public forum that people can kind of get more information here in town if they haven't heard of anything coming up?
Yeah, so you can go on our website, follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We're always putting stuff on there. But if you go on our website and put in any kind of request for public education, the email will come straight to me. So it'll be my email address on there. More than happy to set it up. Call me directly. You know, we're always doing different things. We encourage the members of our community to come up to our fire station. We want them to see what we do. We want them to see our fire trucks. We want the kids to see our fire trucks. We want them to be comfortable with us. You know, 9 times out of 10, you see a kid all excited to see a fire truck, but the first thing they do is this. You know, they put a fire truck, they associate it with sound. Well, that's great, but we want them to be our friend. You know, that's kind of what we teach them in the school is firefighters are your friends. You know, we don't want them to be scared. So if we're inside that house at 3 a.m., that child's coming to us instead of hiding from us.
Sure.
You know, so that's one of the things that we teach.
Awesome, man.
We are starting, I'd like to add, we're starting a new program this summer. I'm really excited about it, to get more girls in the fire service. So we are starting a girls empowerment fire boot camp this summer, and it's called Sparking Embers. The first annual. It's for rising high school freshmen to seniors. There's an application online. It's on our Facebook page. Application process and a recommendation letter from your teacher, and you know they'll become CPR AED certified and just learn about what we do.
That's awesome.
Working on the schedule now. I have some great female motivational speakers that are excited about it and will be coming in. So please spread the word, and you know.
Oh, I'd love to, man. That's awesome, and you know, that's one of the other things I wanted to mention is I see that Beaufort Fire Department does have quite a few females.
We do, and we're very proud of that. And our females are great. They're hard workers and happy to be there, and that's what we want. Strong, yeah. I'm sure. I think every single one of them works out here. So,
yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah.
Well, Ross, I appreciate you coming in and talking to me today.
Yeah.
If you guys watch this and enjoyed it, give us a subscribe, like, share it with people. And if you get a chance, you see this dashing man running by your neighborhood, say hey to Ross and come try a hit class with him one time.
There we go. Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You guys have a great day.